I would like to welcome everyone in XRP Army land. Today we have a very special guest, and I've been pursuing Stephanie for a couple of weeks now because I'm very intrigued to be able to hear more about her. And I also want to offer an ongoing invitation to more of the ladies in our XRP family, because people like who they're like. And we have a strong group of women in our group. Boo Boo is one. Another one that I've spoken with that I've become good friends with is Joni Gold-Bronson and her husband Steve. And then also Crypto Eddie also is you know, has a fantastic YouTube channel and is one of my favorite YouTubers. But I wanted to be able to bring on as many of the rank and file people in our community together, because I believe everybody has a story, and I believe everybody ought to have a chance to share what their story is. So having said that, I would like to give a warm introduction to a new friend of mine that I just now met. We've tweeted back and forth some, but now I'm going to be able to add Stephanie to my list of friends in the XRP community. So Stephanie, I'd like you to introduce yourself and let's just have a nice friendly conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. I'm a small fish in a big pond. I'm just your normal average crypto enthusiast. I'm a mom of 3 from Florida. I've seen some of your other interviews where you've interviewed bloggers and YouTubers that are very well known, and you did an excellent job, by the way. So again, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to say hi to everybody and to just kind of voice my opinions and my thoughts on XRP, and thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Okay, so we can kind of start out from the beginning. So mom of 3, live in Florida. I think that's a wonderful demographic, and we need more of those women to step up, because people like who they're like. And even I'm 58 and not married, no kids. So if I go out and try and share my demographic, it's not going to be that large. But how many moms with 3 kids are there out there that need to understand potentially that we're heading for a monetary reset, that, you know, we're going to probably be ending up in a cashless society, and that there are other moms that are out there that have kind of done some research and have come to the same conclusion. So that's why I value your story so much and am so interested in finding out more about you.
Well, thank you. And I agree. I think more moms should be aware of what's going on, because this is the future that our children are going to be walking into. And we're going to need to be that adult guiding light to help them transition into their adulthood in a digitally digitized future. So I've always been interested in like politics. I've always been interested in real estate and different forms of investing. I was into Forex using Nadex a couple of years ago, and that's when I became aware of Bitcoin. I want to say like 2016, September of 2016. But, you know, back then the media had it portrayed as, you know, the scam artist coin, you know, the money laundering coin, you know, and so I was a little hesitant to get involved with it until I saw it climb to $20,000. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, I can't believe it's getting that high. Well, then it, you know, it burst and it came back down. And I want to say May of 2017, I threw in $100 worth of my money. I was like, let me just kind of test it out. And at the time it was $1,100 a coin. And I totally forgot all about it, Scott. It wasn't until October of last year when I got one of those random promo emails from Coinbase, you know, and it struck a chord with me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I opened up that Coinbase account. I had almost $800 in that account. I was like, oh my God, I am hooked. from October to December last year, I was rooting for Bitcoin. I was studying the charts. I was, looking up all these YouTubers, doing the TA and stuff. But I came across an interview with Brad Garlinghouse where he said Bitcoin is the Napster of the music industry. Scott, when I was 13, Napster was, very, very popular.
Yeah.
And so when he used that terminology, it really struck a chord with me because I've seen how the music industry has progressed through iTunes and Spotify, things like that. And that's when it really hit me. XRP is probably going to be the predecessor of Bitcoin. Another interview with Brad Garlinghouse, he had stated that XRP is going to be used for settlement purposes, like we all know, and that the transactions are done in 3 seconds. One day, me and my partner were driving in the vehicle, and he was upset that it takes 3 days to pay a bill out of our bank. Mm-hmm. Why can't it be instant? Why? It should be instant. We're in 2020. They should just take the money out. If I need a refund, they should just give me the money back. Why does it take 3 to 5 days? So when I realized that that's the problem XRP solves, I knew then this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge because this is where we need to be in 2020. So that's my background. That's my backstory on how I got involved. And then, of course, I converted my Bitcoin into XRP. So.
Well, I originally saw Bitcoin, I believe, around 2012 or 13, somewhere along in there. And I think it was 8 cents or 10 cents. And I was just completely captivated. I read a book about 35 years ago about paradigm shifting. And ever since, I've just been fascinated with how change unrolls itself in the human community. And I always felt like if I could ever catch economically a paradigm shifting at the right time, then I could become wealthy. And so when I first saw Bitcoin, I was watching it through those lenses, and I was watching mainly videos by a guy named Brock Pierce. And Brock is a guy in the gaming industry. And then I just kind of kept watching it, but I never took any action. And then finally, I hate telling this story, but it's not as bad as the $10 million pizza story. But it finally got to 15,000, and I'm like, I'm ready to go in, and I bought my first initial purchase. And then it went to 20,000, and I was telling all of my friends and everybody what a genius I was. And then the bottom fell out and went all the way down to whatever it went down to. So then somewhere about the same time frame as you, I ran into XRP, started watching, I think Brad Kimes was one of the first YouTubers that I started watching. And then I found Crypto Airy, and then To the Lifeboats, and then Kevin Cage, and then DAI, and then Cryptopolis, and our list of fantastic YouTubers just keeps growing. And then I decided that I would like to find a way to be able to find that information quicker. So I own a digital marketing company. So I had my partner build us a website called the XRP Army News. And there we've got links to the YouTubers. And when you click on a link of Crypto Airy, it'll take you to her latest video on YouTube. And I did it selfishly so I could find my information and get my XRP fix quicker every day. And then we also added Twitter, where if the Twitter handle is on our website, you can click it and it'll take you to the latest tweet of any of our favorite influencers. So selfishly, I put that together to have a centralized place that I could find our information quicker. And then I started thinking, well, we've got Lester Holt, and we've got the CBS News and the ABC News, but there's not any place where there's a lot of interviews going on, and 60 Minutes is more of an interview show. and a lot more people like 60 Minutes than they do the 6:30 news. So
Right.
why not go out there and begin to try to interview some people and find out more about them and their journey into the space, because I believe more people can identify with a story than they can with just news. So that's how I ended up here. And then again, I saw you on Twitter. I liked what you had been tweeting, and so just wanted to strike up a conversation, and here we are.
Absolutely. I think you're doing a great job, and I would love to see an interview with you and Digital Asset Investor. I didn't see him on your list of interviews. I think that would be awesome.
I will let you know that it has not been a lack of trying on my part.
Oh.
So, and the funny thing, I know you just got back from a trip to Georgia. My family, my mother's side of the family is from South Georgia. And of all of our crypto YouTuber influencers, there's none of them that I feel like I'm going to have more in common with and have more of a friendly conversation with than with DAI. But I'm trying. And so hopefully there will be enough people that will watch our interview and maybe tap him on the shoulder. The other interview that I am hoping and praying now every day that I can get is a newcomer into our space. And I don't know if you've watched any of his videos yet. The language is a little rough, but have you enjoyed any of Naga Bo's videos yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen any. But then again, I've been in Georgia the last 4 or 5 days, so.
Well, I'm going to have to pre-warn you, Stephanie, the language is rough.
Well, my language can be rough too, so that's okay.
But if you are looking to be entertained and probably laugh out of your chair, then make sure and take a look at what Naga Bo has to say. And last week, he actually decided to declare his intentions to run for president of the United States.
Awesome. Hey, so, why not?
So the other thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if I can put together a presidential debate between John McAfee and Naga Bo. So that's another huge one on my wish list that I'm trying to see if I can get pulled off, but we'll see. So when you originally got into XRP, what did you feel like were the main differences that drew you into Ripple and XRP as being one that you believed in?
Well, like I stated, the problem that they're going to be solving, resonates with me because of the conversation I had with my partner about him being frustrated how long it takes. And it wasn't until I started researching Ripple and I started researching XRP, and I noticed that they had some really big institutions involved with them. I believe Fidelity caught my eye because that's where I have my 401k. So when I saw Fidelity was partnered with them, and I saw that Visa through Earthport, I'm like, these are some real big names. SBI was another one that caught my attention. It's the largest financial institute in Asia, and they're offering XRP to their shareholders. That is huge news. And it's crazy. Every day, more news falls out for Ripple, but you never hear it on the news. You have to go digging for it. That strikes with me as well, because why is it not being covered on the news? We're in the fourth industrial revolution. We are living in a time of history where our financial sector is completely switching over to digital. This should be on the news. And the fact that it's being hushed makes me believe that it's going to be huge once they flip over.
Do you think that they are purposely doing that and purposely suppressing the price now? And maybe even some of the FUD that we get from time to time is trying to shake people out so they can have the price lower for the institutional purchases that are going to be coming, I believe, as well at some point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's it, because they're buying in bulk. So of course they were going to want to keep the price as low as they can so that, you know, they can profit, the institutions can profit as well, because banks aren't going anywhere. I'm sorry, they're not going nowhere. And they're going to want to make, you know, some profit off of the transition as well. Bank of America, I know, is partnered with Ripple, even though it hasn't officially come out yet.
Yeah.
I believe that they will be mentioning something around June 21st is when their contract expires with their third-party company. My suspicion is that that's when they're going to announce the Ripple partnership. But don't quote me on that because I don't know for sure.
Well, it seems like that Bitso is going bonzo in the American-Mexico border, which is good news. Seems like that the Philippines now is beginning to pick up. Seems like that we had an announcement last week that Brad Garlinghouse is meeting with the central bank president in Brazil. So again, I'm with you. The news just continues. I can't remember the last time that I legitimately saw anything that made me say, uh-oh. But we're still kind of stuck around that 20-cent range. But I like the way that the bonsai tree grows. Nothing for 5 years. And then in 90 days, it grows to full maturity. So I'm kind of looking at our investment with XRP, I think, could run along a similar line. And I'm just waiting for that 5-year period to go ahead, and we've been that 5 years, and now let's have that 90 days of growth period.
And that's a great analogy. You know, that's a perfect way to look at it. And Ripple has been on the scene since 2012, I believe. You know, I saw somebody on Twitter say, oh, well, buckle up, this is going to be a 10-year journey. I'm like, meh, our 10 years is almost up.
Yeah.
So it's coming. I don't see anything happening this year. I was hopeful that we would see some kind of price appreciation around October. I don't see that happening this year, but I do see movement next year just because of all of the partnerships they've got lined up. The executive came out last week and said that they're up to 350 partnerships. That's 50 more than 7 months ago. So I'm really hopeful that this is going to be something exciting. The only FUD that had me and my partner concerned was the lawsuit.
Yep.
But, yeah. So, but if you notice, the judge combined the two lawsuits together, and I think my suspicion is that she is going to throw it out. So she's just going to get rid of both.
Well, and one thing too, I don't know who you follow, but probably the same ones I do, but I listen to Digital Asset Investor every day, twice a day when he puts a video out, both times. And he said, I think it was the Greg Kidd interview, that that they're kind of being wishy-washy about it, where it can start out being a security, but then turn into a commodity, and then it can turn back into a security again. So basically, it seems like, Stephanie, the way they got the laws written, they can pretty much declare it whatever the heck they want to, whatever serves their purpose at the time. So right. I'm not that worried about that either, because I believe that they'll overcome it. Now, one thing that I was interested to find out from you as well, what were your initial feelings when you saw that Western Union might be making an offer to buy MoneyGram?
Oh, I was super excited because April 15th, I had posted that Western Union was going to go ahead and test out the Ripple network. And I had predicted April 15th. I said, give it a couple of months and they'll be wanting to sign up as a partner. 6 weeks later, they wanted to buy out MoneyGram. And I think that's phenomenal, because that is a testament to the power and to the logic behind the technology, where Western Union saw how powerful it can be and was like, hey, you know what? We just want to buy out MoneyGram. that was my take on it.
Well, do you think that Ripple would be better off, because Ripple's valuation is $10 billion, and I heard today on a video that MoneyGram's is, I think, $168 million. Would it make sense in your mind for Ripple to just buy MoneyGram instead of letting Western Union take it? Because my one fear would be that MoneyGram would want, Western Union would want to buy it to squash the evolution of the tech instead of incorporate it and use it to their advantage. So do you think it might be a better move if Ripple decided they wanted to go buy MoneyGram instead?
I mean, yeah, I think that would be great for Ripple if they wanted to expand their, portfolio, so to speak, their services and things of that nature. But why would Western Union want to do that when Western Union can buy MoneyGram and get all the profits from the technology? I don't know. I don't see Western Union squashing it. I see them wanting to adapt and expand. So in that aspect, they're going to want to acquire MoneyGram and kind of corner the market. You know what I mean?
Well, we hope so. But remember, if we look back through history, companies like Kodak, the ones who are profiting the most with the existing system are most times the last ones to want to adapt and to change, because they're the ones who are profiting the most now. And so I think Western Union wanting to try to upgrade their messaging system and feel like that they are the big, gorilla in the room. Why should we change? But I think, you just never know. Maybe the CEO of that company is smart enough to look at examples of companies who haven't gone and adapted with the tech like Kodak did. But I think it's a very exciting opportunity for all of us to learn. I think what may end up happening, we may end up getting a big boost from Asia, from SBI, and from Brazil. I think if those two corridors really start to go well, and I kind of feel like that we'll reach a tipping point where some of the banks that are hesitant to want to begin to get involved, and it's like any change, it's resisted in the beginning, but if you've got people in the end of the pool swimming and not drowning, then eventually people will go ahead and come in. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you as well, you know as well as I do that for some reason we've got maxi people in crypto. And you started out with Bitcoin, but you ended up having an open mind enough to look into other things. Why do you feel like that people get stuck and just, for lack of a better coin to use as an example, why do you feel like that there's some people that turn into Bitcoin maximalists instead of looking at the space as a whole and understand that the Industrial Revolution, as you called it, is bigger than just one crypto coin?
I think it's because they become emotionally attached. Depending on how much they've invested financially into Bitcoin, they're going to grow an emotional attachment to that investment, which is a shame because they're closing themselves off from different opportunities. And they could easily transfer, or I should say convert, some of their Bitcoin into XRP, and they'll be pretty well off, Yeah. And I don't see the harm in people doing that. They need to expand or diversify their portfolios in that aspect. But yeah, I think it definitely has something to do with them being emotionally attached to their financial investment.
And are there any suggestions that you would have for anyone in our community of how we may be able to try to raise the awareness together? And I know that you've had the same experience that I've had, that we try to share what we see with friends and family, and they look at us like we got three heads. And it's like, no, you don't understand. If you will just investigate with an open mind and just look at what's happening here. I mean, America is $147 trillion in unfunded liabilities and 45 trillion, I think, in funded liabilities. I mean, something is very, very, very wrong.
Yes. Yep, I agree. And when the shit hits the fan, so to speak, then that's when they'll pay attention, and they'll gasp, oh my God, you were right. Well, I tried to tell you guys, because again, they're not showing this on the news. They're not emphasizing what's going on. They kind of brush over things, and I think if people don't pay attention, the rug is going to get pulled out from under them.
I agree. So when Brad Garlinghouse about a year ago said that we were in, I think, mile 3 of our marathon, do you feel like that the beer cold and the continuation of the fiat banking system continuing apparently not to be looking like it's doing very well, do you feel like that has sped up our journey to get to the finish line in this marathon?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I feel like this pandemic was slightly designed to be the catalyst for this, just because of all the information. You know, one minute it's not okay to wear a mask, and then you wear a mask, and then, oh, the mask doesn't help you, don't wear the mask. CDC and the WHO came out and said that asymptomatic carriers it's very rare for them to spread the disease. The information that's been coming out has been so conflicting, so it's hard to navigate truth and reality. I feel like this was designed so that they can speed up the process and get ready to flip the system. Reason being, they did it in a very choreographed way. They shut down Australia and China, and then it moved to, you know, Afghanistan, the Middle East, and then it moved to Italy and Spain and Germany, and then it was the UK, and then us. It was all very systematic, and they were just using the pandemic as a cover-up for that. I'm a slight bit of a conspiracy theorist, so that's my opinion. And given the regulations that have been coming out, and given the fact that we are being pushed for a digital dollar, thanks to China coming out with their digital yen, absolutely, this accelerated the process.
I believe you. I'm in the same ideological camp. The beer cold has really been very interesting. I believe that it exists. I believe that that is a strain of a virus that we haven't seen before. Yep. I believe that. But yep. I believe that it is more contagious than your average flu.
Correct. I believe that too.
But Stephanie, I don't believe that it's more lethal. And when you break down the numbers of people that have died from it, the wide majority of those people had underlying issues already. And then the other thing, and I mentioned this to my dad the other day, and he doesn't believe it. My stepmother doesn't believe it. I'm a libertarian and they're liberals. All right. And they trying to have, I don't want to get too political and be negative about either side, either way. I'm a libertarian. I'm in the middle. But sometimes, Stephanie, there's no talking to these people.
I know.
I tried to say to my dad, they have monetized the hospitals to say that it's COVID, because then they're getting money from the government. They're getting $9,000 if it's COVID. They're getting $13,000 if they treat them a little bit more and hospitalize them, and then for some reason, and then they're getting a whopping $39,000 if they intubate them. Yeah. And you can't tell me that a hospital administrator whose hospital is on the rocks financially, that they're not checking people in that have got COVID that may or might not. They're coming in and coughing. They're saying that's COVID. And then, so we don't know. And then a guy's coming in that got run over by a car. He's coughing. Oh, he must have COVID. I mean, and they're doing it because they incentivized the hospitals to say that it was the beer cold. So,
yep. And the hospitals took advantage of the opportunity. And if you saw the article, I think that was released this morning, the CDC admitted to adding fatally gunshot people who died from gun wounds. If I got shot in a pandemic, it wasn't the virus, it was the gunshot. So the fact that they're admitting that, yes, they did kind of misconstrue the numbers that way. It's just so misleading. And how can you trust these organizations that we are supposed to trust as trustworthy sources?
Well, I'm 58 and I grew up with Lost in Space. I don't know if you ever remember what that show is.
Yes, I do.
Danger Will Robinson. And then later on it became Mulder and Scully and
X-Files.
X-Files. Yes. And then the pandemic comes along, and Area 51 and UFOs have always been denied. And then all of a sudden we've got the pandemic, and the U.S. government says, oh, by the way, we think we've got UFOs. Here's the footage. And nobody paid attention.
I thought that was huge news. But if you remember correctly, in 2017, the U.S. Navy came out with 3 videos. And then the government, during the pandemic, then the government finally admitted to that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So I do believe that there's some diversion stuff going on. And I personally believe that whoever is pulling the strings in the world, that whether it be the Illuminati, whether it be the Bilderberg Group, whoever it is that's doing this, I personally believe that they want us all to be doing everything on these phones. I don't know if you can see the phone. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. I think they want to have a thumbnail on here or a voice recognition on here. I think then they want us to do every financial transaction on here. And then if we end up getting a DWI, I heard this on a video yesterday. If I get a DWI, then they can restrict me from being able to buy alcohol. So they can do social engineering based on my behavior. They can control everything. And do you think that they're going in that direction as well, whether we like it or not?
That's a tough one to say, because that kind of wraps in with the NWO and the New World Order and the mark of the beast that everybody speaks of, and being chipped and things like that. If they were to keep all that information and all of our capabilities on our phone, I could see that potentially happening. I don't see us being chipped. There's too many people that will not allow that to happen. But I got a question for you. The United Nations recently came out and they put a new theme to their website, and it's called UNNWO.org, where they are discussing the New World Order initiative. And they're saying how great it's going to be for our climate, for our earth, how great it's going to be for the financial sector. And I just find that very intriguing, how all these pieces are kind of falling into place. I'm on the fence. Like I said, if it's on our phones, I see that happening more than being chipped. I don't think people are going to go for that.
Well, Stephanie, I think there's, more than one way of looking at things. There's a lot. I mean, we got 7 billion people, so you've got the potential for 7 billion perspectives. Yeah. And I mean, on the one hand, if we do everything on the phone and everything is tracked, you know what? On the one hand, it's going to be a lot more convenient. But then on the other hand, we're going to lose some personal freedoms.
Haven't we already?
Yes, but again, the point that I'm trying to make is that no matter what you do, there's a narrative that can be spun off from it. I'm more positive, and I look at it like convenience always wins. If it's more convenient, and I don't have a problem if they want to track my transactions. I personally, I don't. I don't think that they're going to allow privacy anyway. I like Cardano. I like Monero. But I don't think there's any way in the world that Maxine Waters is going to approve. I don't believe she's going to go from Bitcom to privacy point.
Right.
Call me crazy, but I don't think that Mitch McConnell is going to go from the IRS and the way that we've got things set up now for us to where you can launder cash and then they want to make it an improved system, and yet they're going to let us have privacy in the way that we transact money. I think they want to have that control. And I'm a libertarian, and I am very much in the same camp as our friend DAI. Hint, hint, love to do an interview with you, bro.
Come on, DI.
my family's from Macon County, brother.
And so, we were just by Macon.
Yeah, Montezuma. Go to the Mennonite restaurant. It's really good. Go to McKenzie Golf Course in Montezuma. My grandfather started it.
It's funny, real quick. We took a wrong turn and ended up in downtown Valdosta.
How about Houston? Did you know that in Georgia, it's called Houston County? But if you go to Texas, you're in Houston.
That's funny. No,
Houston
I didn't know.
County. CDAI, I really am. My family really is from Georgia. My sister lives in Bogart, which is right outside of Athens, and graduated from the University of Georgia, and met her husband while they were both going there. But what was I talking about before? I was going to make a point.
You're talking about the transparencies of the transaction.
Yeah. DAI said, hey, I'm not really sure I like all the stuff that's coming up anyway, but do you really think they're going to not do it? Because little Scott Powell from Montour, North Carolina, cries foul. I feel like you're taking away my civil liberties. That they don't care. They're going to, they want to be able to track what I spend. And so if they're going to do it, I'm going to position myself to take advantage of it monetarily.
But you know what? That goes back to the leveling playing field. It's not just to track us as individuals. In 2001, before 9/11, the Army the day before came out and said that they had misplaced $1.2 trillion. Okay? And just here recently in the last year or two, they came out and said that they lost $2.3 trillion. Where's all this money going that you can't account for? You know, so it's not just transparency on our end as individuals, but it's going to level the playing field where they can say, oh yeah, Army, this is exactly where you spent that money.
And do you think that other projects potentially on a ledger could potentially help solve problems like we've got with like Medicaid fraud? I mean, I remember watching 60 Minutes a couple of years ago. I don't know if you watched that show or if you remember this one, but they had a Medicaid fraud case on there, and they had a judge in Oklahoma who had 3 knee replacement parts purchased with 3 different Medicaid numbers in Medicaid fraud.
Oh no. And
the judge had both his legs, but there were crooks out there buying replacement knees using his Medicaid account to be able to purchase knees. So maybe VeChain, or maybe, you know, the XRP's ledger, a public ledger with everything being transacted, can help on the government fraud and the government waste that we have as well.
Absolutely. That's what it seems like it'll do. And I think blockchain technology in general can help supply chains, and it can help a lot. It can really move us forward as a society.
All right. So one of the things that I ask everyone that I'm talking with is where we are right now and where we want to get to, and whatever that number is, 100 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 XRP. What do you feel like right now is the #1 roadblock that is blocking our mass adoption and then our rise in price?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's regulations. I mean, they're slowly coming out like a trickle, you know, piece by piece, they're slowly coming out. I think they need more institutional partnerships. 350 is great, but we're talking thousands. Okay, we need more financial institution partnerships. We've got, I think, 450 corridors. There are thousands of corridors. I feel we're still in the very beginning of this process, which is great because, you know, accumulate while you can, because as soon as they flip that switch, it's game over. So we can have an XRP retirement party.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to show you something I just got today. I'll be right back. I got to grab this.
Sure.
I got this in the mail today. You're the first to ever see this. I got some XRP moon equipment. Still got the sticker on it.
That's awesome. You got your moon boots? Where are your moon boots?
I'm also going to get some moon cheese. So have something that I can eat while I'm on the XRP Army official.
You are ready to go. You look fantastic.
Flag over here. I'm going to buy some, I'm going to buy a XRP sticker and put it on the side of that. I'm gearing up my moon gear.
Yeah, I see that.
Gotta be equipped. If we're going to the moon, I gotta be there. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to ask you about since we went a little bit tin hatty a minute ago. Did you see, Stephanie, the mouse on the rocket?
No.
Google that. Look that up on YouTube. When Elon Musk's rocket was going up, when they had a picture of it in space, you could see a little mouse running across the back of the rocket.
Oh, that's funny. I was there. Yeah. Me and my family went to Cocoa Beach and we watched the launch that afternoon.
I don't know if somebody photoshopped it or what, but it is, I mean, you can clearly see a little mouse. And I found a picture online that's got the two astronauts. And then right beside them, there are three in a row. And the third one is a little picture of a mouse inside a space helmet. Pretty funny. Yeah.
I've got a question for you. Okay. The bearable guy, all of his pictures comes out with persevere or perseverance. The other one was perseverance, which was on the ship recently. How do you feel about the space launch in July where the ship that's being sent to Mars is named Perseverance? Well,
I think that there's always.
Do you think we're going to moon or do you think we're going to Mars?
I like the idea of Mars, but I'll tell you the way that I've always kind of looked at all prognosticators is if you say anything at all, if you lay the timeline out long enough, you're going to hit. So it's, I don't know, but I just would like to be able to find out who it is. So one day after we're able to moon, maybe we'll be able to find more out about who these people were and what they really knew and how they were feeding us this little tidbits of information. But I think that's part of what keeps it all intriguing and part of what keeps it all fun, because they can put something out like that and then we're all sitting here trying to figure it all out. And all of our YouTube guys are, you know, got their and girls are got their opinions on the way that everything's are going. So who knows? So
it's all in good fun. Do you think it's David? Do you think he is bearable guy?
Actually, I do.
Yeah.
But I will say, on the other hand, that my bet for Satoshi Nakamoto, I think, is Alan Greenspan.
Oh. Okay.
Do you follow Bix Weir at all?
No.
Have you ever heard of him before?
No, I have not.
You would really like him. He is a Bitcoin and a Litecoin maxi. For some reason, he really doesn't like XRP. I think it's his anarchist attitude. Yeah. Do you know who Jeff Berwick is? The dollar vigilante?
No.
He's one of the best known anarchist media people out there. But anyway, Bix wrote something. His YouTube channel is called Road to Ruta. In 2007, wasn't 9/11 2008?
9/11 was 2001.
Okay, so in 2000, I think, the Boston Fed put out a comic book called Road to Ruta. And it was a comic book about a transformation of a society, of a town, a village, going from the whatever they were using for money over to the petrodollar, I think. I don't want to butcher it too much. But and it was a comic book that the Boston Fed printed. And you can Google it, Road to Ruta, and you'll find it. You'll see what the comic book, it's there. It's about this little girl named Ruta and the story about her little village. Well, in the teacher's manual on page 13 or 14, in the sand, Ruta writes, and this was before the year before 9/11, and the Boston Fed printed the comic book. In the sand, Stephanie, it has 9/11/11 in the sand.
Oh, wow.
And on 9/11 at exactly 11 o'clock, guess what happened?
Yep.
Not the planes in the building. The Fed infused $550 billion worth of cash into our monetary system, or it would have fallen apart.
Oh, wow.
And so think about it. A year before, the Boston Fed puts out a comic book, and in the comic book, in the sand, 9/11/11, and then it happened exactly at that time. It diverted a financial collapse.
And that's why I said earlier, I feel like everything is by design. Everything is choreographed.
Yep.
There are people who are in the know that know things, and they slip little bits of information out at a time. That's definitely intriguing. I'll have to look into that.
You would love that. Vic's Weir. And again, I really like the guy, but just go be prepared. He is a Bitcoin and a Litecoin maxi. And again, nothing wrong with that. I don't know exactly what it is that he doesn't like about Ripple and XRP, but I think it's because they're working with the man, and he's more of an anarchist type guy. But again, solid information, good guy, and I've enjoyed, looking at and learning information from him. And I will say, to give him some props, he did call the Fed funny money beginning. Remember, September 17th, 2019, he called it a couple of days before it started. I mean,
when they started injecting
injecting the money in the repo market, he nailed it. And so I like following him too, and I think you would really like him. And his predictions about that comic book, and it's just really eerie. What is the Boston Fed doing writing a comic book?
Right? Exactly. Things that make you go,
It's going to make me put my moon helmet on again.
Well, I think, you know who I think the bearable guy is? I think it's Brad Garlinghouse.
Really?
Bearable guy, BG, Brad Garlinghouse. I don't know. That's just my speculation. I think it's him.
All right. Well, the reason I brought VIX up, I forgot. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. My brain's going so fast.
There's just so much to say.
True. So, Stephanie, what he says is he thinks that Satoshi Nakamoto is Alan Greenspan because Alan Greenspan let the derivative market take us in the tank. And so his way of atonement of trying to help give back to the world that he helped to collapse with this fractional economic system is that he gave us the solution, which is cryptocurrency. And so that's why VIX feels like, and Alan Greenspan was into computers his whole career. And so that's why they feel like that, he is, now that we're kind of going down this train, do you think Arthur Brito will ever emerge and will ever begin to find out more about, the elusive Mr. Brito?
I don't know. Only time will tell.
That's a very good answer.
There's no telling, but that's interesting that you brought that up. And that's almost poetic about how he kind of collapsed the system and now he's trying to give back. That That's very interesting. I like that perspective.
If you begin to look into Bix a little bit, I think you'll find him, you know, that's his opinion also. He thinks that that Greenspan is Satoshi. One other thing, if you ever get a chance, if you've never seen a PBS documentary called The Warning, there is a female lawyer, and I also said to you before we started, but I want to say it on the video, I wish women were running the universe. We got way too much testosterone messing everything up. We would be better off with women running everything. I'm all for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you vote for me if I ran for president?
Yes. You and Nagabo, after you listen to him and understand where he's coming from, if y'all will run together, we'll do a nomination party interview and introduce the two of you to the world.
Awesome.
Now, again, his language is rough, but it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard in my whole life. But now I forgot what I was going to say again. Oh, Brooks Lee Bourne. If you watch that video called The Warning.
The Warning.
She was an attorney and a hero, an American hero. She went to Stanford in the 60s and was hated by her classmates because she took a position in that class away from a man that ended up having to go to Vietnam because she took his college position.
Right.
She ended up graduating with honors from Stanford and became an attorney, ended up working for the government, and her job, Stephanie, was to find fishy stuff in the derivative markets. Well, guess what? She went and told Alan Greenspan, Larry Summers, and Reuben, can't remember that Reuben guy's first name. But they were the three guys that were the president's main three economic guys at the time, and they fired her.
Oh, because they knew she was digging too deep
into the derivative mess. And then 2 weeks after they fired Brooks Lee Bourne, who is an American hero, 2 weeks after they fired her, Bear Stearns went belly up.
Oh, wow.
But if you get a chance, it's called The Warning. All you got to do is Google it. It's on PBS. It's recorded. You can find it on YouTube. Brooks Lee Bourne, and that woman is an American hero, and we ought to have a bronze statue of her in Washington instead of her getting fired by these idiots.
Yeah.
Just how I feel about it.
That's the beginning of the cover-ups, is when they let someone go for doing their job, right?
She was doing her job and they fired her. And but that's how it goes. All right, well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. There's two things that I would like to ask as we wind up. One is, what would you say to any of the other ladies in our community that I am desperately trying to invite to come on and have a friendly conversation with me? Would you encourage them that it's a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing, you know. Come on the show, have a nice conversation, tell your story so that other people who relate to you can become interested in this community, because this is the future. This is where it's at, ladies, so get involved. And the XRP community is like a family. I'm sorry, but that's one thing I absolutely adore about the XRP community. Twitter, it's just, they are so awesome. So come on, ladies, get involved.
And if we get to know each other better, it's just that much better. That's, again, one of the things I'm hoping to be able to. I've made some really good friendships as a result of starting doing this. And so last thing is, do you have any other just final message that you would like to say to the world in this time of an opportunity for all of us with all the potential division out there? Is there anything that you would just like to say from your heart to the rest of the world about, pardon my French, but let's get our fucking shit together?
Yeah, let's stay united. Don't let the media divide us. You know, we're all one human race. and to be compassionate and kind to one another. We can rise above it, and we need to keep our humanity during these times. Also, keep accumulating. It's not financial advice, just my personal opinion. Keep accumulating, because at 20 cents XRP, that's a steal. And when the flip gets switched, it's a party is on at that point. So that's all I would really like to say.
I lied. I had one more thing.
You got me.
I would like to extend an invitation that we can get together again a little bit further down the road to be able to kind of update how, what things we're sitting at like right now where we are, and then we can get back together in the future and kind of talk about what happened in the interim time period. So you have an open invitation, and I hope you'll come back and speak with me again.
Awesome. Anytime. It's been fun. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everyone, and have a great day. And remember, the message, the combined loving message from Stephanie and myself is live long and hodl. If you can see that.
Hodl.
Live long and hodl, y'all.
Yes. All right, Scott. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you again.